Welcome to Bear Lifestyle, the podcast where we speak up and speak out about all taboo topics and make them normal and acceptable.
You are invited to be curious, to try something new, and stay open to provocative perspectives.
I'm Simona Spark, a best-selling author, international speaker, transformational coach, and so many other things. Beyond anything else, I'm a woman who stopped following other people's rules and started creating my own.
I'm Carolyn Marcos, a life coach on a mission to break the labels and expectations that others place on us. I am a woman who used to hate her own body until I dared to become the sexy goddess I am today.
In this space, we are going to get naked by stripping away insecurities, self-judgments, and all kinds of limitations, and reach in for the essence of who we really are, Bear.
Beautiful, authentic, real, and ever evolving. Let's begin.
Welcome back, everyone. We are celebrating you as always.
Cheers.
I'm celebrating with fruity and minty water.
I'm actually celebrating with champagne that I added a little bit of fruit juice to.
Go for it. Go for it. You deserve it. You're worthy. You get to do whatever the hell you want.
I even found a new glass to do my celebration in. I thought, oh, I like it. So I got it. Actually, I got 4 of them.
It's all about giving us, allowing ourselves to give ourselves what we want. And that being said, today, as Carolyn's recommendation, we decided to have a conversation about healing.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And we talked about this in our last episode where we were talking about celebrating women. But in order for us to stand strong as women, we need to really heal ourselves so that we know our voice. We know what our beliefs are. We know what we stand for, and we stand strong in those. We set boundaries for ourselves. We speak our mind. We say yes when we want to. We say no when we want to. But in order to do that, we really have to heal from the labels, from the way society has programmed us, and we need to heal the way that we grew up, and I'm not talking about the traumatic healing. I'm talking about healing our own beliefs, healing our stories, so we become the heroine of our own stories, so that we become the voice, the narration in our own lives.
Yes, yes. I like that you mentioned trauma because especially in a women community,
Yes.
there is this badge of honor, if you wish, who went through a bigger trauma,
I wore that
right?
badge. Yeah.
And I often, especially after I published my book, Praising My Voice,
What a good book it is.
what a good book it is. I have been talking with people that read my book, and when I say people, I say women, and they'll be saying something like that. While I didn't go through all the things that you went through, my trauma is not that big. Like, they apologize for not having a big trauma.
Right.
And that is such a big no-no. Like, woman, sis, girl, there is
Yes,
no such a thing, big trauma, small trauma. Trauma is trauma, period.
exactly. It's one of the things that I recognize for myself that I no longer need to wear that badge of honor around the victim. What I do instead is I celebrate how I've come through that. And I always remind everybody has gone through something. It doesn't matter how big or how small it was your experience. And when you come to the other side of that, celebrate it. Celebrate while you're going through it. Celebrate while you're healing it. Celebrate who you become because of it. Don't we are not shaped by the trauma that we lived through. We are shaped by who we become in spite of it.
Yes. Celebrating that. That was very well said. So before we hit recording, we were talking about makeup. And I was just sharing with Carolyn like how silly I just recognized that I have so much makeup in my bathroom and I have like foundation from 6 years ago. And was very interesting because if you go and you look into your makeup drawer or closet or cabinet or whatever you have, and that alone could be a process of healing. I'm not saying that you need to just get a coach or a therapist or hypnotherapist and just dive in and awaken all the pain. You could start from outside in, like with your makeup drawer, and
Right?
recognize like, am I worthy of throwing away this expired makeup and take care of what am I putting on my skin?
Exactly. It's so funny that we do this because we know that makeup has an expiration date on it. And yet how many of us have a mascara that we've been holding on to for years because it's like, oh, that means I have to go to the store and buy another one, or I need to try to find a new foundation. I don't know what I'm doing. We give ourselves all of these sexy excuses that keep us from keeping our skin the way that it's meant to be kept, presenting ourselves the way that we feel comfortable, not the way that society wants us to look, but the way that we want to look, and we do this in the slightest ways, and sometimes we're not even aware that we're doing it.
Yes, yes. It's a shortage consciousness mindset, and but it's also to recognize that it's embedded in our trauma, and whatever happened, that we created that story and we created that belief as a protective mechanism to survive to whatever happened, and tell ourselves like, oh, I don't deserve this,
Right.
or if I buy a new one, or if I invest in myself, that then people around me would say that I'm selfish and all the things. And it could be as simple as that, but this is as simple as it sounds. It's a really big deal. Like we see that in our work with our clients, like this deservability thing. It's such a huge, like we learn it from generations and generation that we are not deserving of having good things. We are not deserving of having a good life. We are not deserving of taking care of ourselves. And let's start with that, because as Carolyn was saying for the beginning, not only that we get to heal what we are carrying in our body, but when we on the other side of things, it's when we actually, then and only then, we get to stay in our own power and our own truth.
Right. And what an incredible space it is. And it's not saying that things don't still come up even when you get to the other side of that, but those things come up and they stay a little less um their stay isn't as long. It's a shorter visit, and we learn something every single time that we master and move ourselves to that new level. But we have to step out of the mindset of, oh, if I do this, I'm taking away from somebody else. If I do this, I'm doing something for me, and that's selfish. It's not
Yeah,
selfish, it's
yeah.
loving.
And it's so celebratory to witness yourself how, because we land on the same thing over and over again, the same circumstances. I was explaining in my book my theory of being on a spiral.
Yes, I love that theory.
And we are going, because life is repetitive, so we are going through the similar circumstances over and over again. It's just our perception change, And
Yes.
it's just another reminder, life reminding us like, hey, are you still here with that belief or with that mindset?
Right.
So last time when I cleaned up my makeup, the first thought that came in my mind was like, what a waste of money.
Mm-hmm.
This time when I clean up my makeup, the thought in my mind and the energy was like, I deserve better things.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, here's a shift. All right, I'm celebrating myself. I'm so proud of myself
You should be.
that I no longer make it about the money, and feeling sorry for myself and feeling that I made poor decisions. This time it was such an empower uh, decluttering, because it's like, no, I really don't need five bottles of foundation of $20 each. I actually need only one that might be $100, but is organic and it's not gonna kill my skin.
Exactly.
So, and it's just the excitement and then the power that I felt like instantly. And it could be that easy, though. Just clean up the makeup drawer and just watch yourself how you judge yourself, because that could be the first like door, the entry door for you to walk into your own healing. Is like, oh, wait a minute, I have some negative talks about myself. How can I change this? What else is possible? How can I look at this differently, that I'm not judging myself?
Exactly. And that's a space that we step into time and time again. It's like judging ourselves, judging ourselves, judging ourselves. And it's a space where we need to start to, instead of judging ourselves, what if we start celebrating ourselves? Every time we step into a place where we want to judge, but we move beyond it, let's celebrate that. You know, you threw out a mascara that maybe was a $30 mascara, no worries about it. You know, money replenishes itself, and go and buy the mascara that is the one that you want. Go buy the lipstick that is the color that you like. And don't try to like pass those things on to somebody else. Just get rid of them, because if they weren't good for you, maybe they're not good for somebody else. And we don't want to support somebody else thinking they're only worthy of the seconds.
Hand me downs, yes.
Yes. You
Yes,
know,
yes. But look
so
at that. That was very thing. Like it's just like trigger something, not trigger, but remind me of something.
mhm.
Like for me, and just see what is your story as you listen to this. For me, the idea of I'm not deserving pretty things, it started in a very, very, very young age, because I was the third in a family, and I would get most of my things were hand-me-downs from my brother and my sister. So I grow up, and was I happy with it? No, I always ask for things for myself, but it's very rare when I got them. So I've been told that I need to be grateful, and I get two things instead of one, and whatnot, whatnot. Now, of course, looking back, I understand exactly what my parents went through, and they didn't have another options. They didn't want to just not getting me pretty things. It's just they couldn't. But that 3 years old, 5 years old, 7 years old little girl, she make believe that she doesn't deserve good things. She doesn't deserve expensive things. When she buys something, it's like, oh, do I spend this? And it show up for so long. Even when I become a mother, I'll be like, oh, I don't need another t-shirt or whatever. I need to buy something for my kid because my kid is growing. So I always justify and
Mhm.
use my own child as a human shield, like why I cannot give myself things, because I could wear the same thing that I wore last year, but he cannot because he's growing, so he need a bigger size. And just watch yourself how subtle this are popping in our life. And
Especially for single moms, especially for single moms, because, and I didn't mean to like dive in on you, but I wanted to bring this point up. It's like, even as a single mom, we're still worthy of getting a new shirt, getting a new mascara. Even if our kids need something, we can still do that something for our kids and take care of ourselves at the same time. That's
right.
all I wanted to say.
No, it's very, very good point, because that it's been my story, and you could read it in my book.
Right?
I'm forgetting to mention my book, and we've been doing like, I don't know, 16 episodes, but go in the description, order it. I still have few left if you want a signed copy. The difference of telling your story that is healed and telling the story what is not healed is just that victim role that come true or not.
Yes.
I know most of my life I was telling my story thousands of times to different people in different spaces, but was from a place of like, poor me, and my life was so hard, and this what happened to me. And it's not that was not true, because life was hard and it did happen to me. But when I dive into the healing process, and I make first of all peace with what happened and stop judging myself for the decision that I did, now my story get to be told from a inspiring place, from
Exactly.
a like, there is no client that could come in my space and say I cannot do it. I'm just like not available for that. Like, I know what I went through, and what I was capable of creating. I won't even tap that story, I won't even touch it. Like, no, you're able and capable of accomplishing anything that you desire, and that's the vision that I'm holding. Why? Because I did the healing, and I no
Exactly.
longer look myself as a victim and what things happen to me, and I'm looking at like with so much gratitude, like, oh my god, it hurt so bad and was so terrifying, and I'm so grateful because I learned so much that nothing, no school, no programs, no person we could have taught me what I learned from my own life experience.
It's so true. It really is the truth. And my experience was is that I never wanted people to pity me. So I always took the opposite side of it. I was proud of the fact that I survived my growing up. I was proud to be as strong as I was because of everything that I went through. And now I'm in a space where I don't have pride over it. It happened. I no longer accept the pity over it. What I do now is I respect myself enough not to take myself back into that story because my body doesn't know when that happened to me. So I don't want to take myself back to those situations. It's not that I don't know that they happened to me, and it's not that I don't know that I healed from them. My body doesn't know when it happened. So I don't want to take myself into that trauma anymore. And I don't try. That's not my favorite word. I fired that word.
Yes,
Um,
you did.
I work very, very hard to support my clients to do the same thing, to understand that we don't know that side of things. So our body doesn't know when these things happened, but we are very capable of moving forward away from those things. And we do not any longer need to identify with the poor me or the badge of honor that our victim story gave to us. What we need to do is step into the strength and the power that comes from surviving. All we did was survive. Our body helped us to do some amazing things to get us from that place to where we are now. And
Yes.
I love the space where I am now. And that's what I always invite my clients into is to let's walk across that bridge and see what becomes when we're in this space and no
Yes.
longer identifying with that space.
Yes. I love that you mentioned that the body doesn't know. It's very crucial to understand. If you understand just one thing, that literally could change your life.
Right.
That every time when we tell a story and it's not healed, and you know that for you to be true, you listener or watcher,
Right.
viewer,
Or even host.
yes, it's all the emotions come through. That's one signal that that story was not healed. And when that's all the emotions that we feel in our body is, that's the moment that Carolyn is talking about. The body doesn't know, do you tell the story now or this is happening? The brain makes the difference. Is this a memory? Is this a event, a present event? But the body doesn't, until you get in, you do the healing and you get into a point when you could tell the story, the most traumatizing, horrifying story that you might have, you could tell her and you feel nothing.
Exactly.
That's what it's a signal. Like for me, and I see hundreds of people that I've been working with, is like that's what I knew, that that piece was healed. And we talked in the previous episodes about the triggers and how important it is to love them and appreciate their power.
Right.
That's one thing. Is like if I talk about, I don't know, when I was like homeless with a kid that didn't know where to go and didn't know where I'm at, and I'm feeling tight, and it's like, oh, there is something there to dive in. Something is not completely clean. So, as far as the story goes and what I share in my book, at this point, like whatever I talk about it, it like doesn't trigger anything in my body. If anything that is trigger is full disclosure, I don't think I say that publicly yet. No, I did not. The only thing that triggers is like now when I'm reading it and I'm reading very slow, and God help me, God, I do want to have the audible for this book.
And you will.
But I'm reading it very slow and it's a different intention. Like I really want to scan myself. Where am I with every sentence that I put in this book?
Yes.
And the only thing that it triggers is there is still a little bit of self-judgment of, oh, I could have write this better. And that's a big lie, because here we are a year and a half later. Of course I'm going to write it differently if I will to write it now, because I'm a totally different person than
Right.
a year and a half ago. But it's interesting to see that thing is coming up, and I'm teaching over and over again how important it is to wake up and realize that we are a new person every day. And yet here I am in my own story, and that thing is popping out like, you could have write this differently, right?
Right. But instead, we could be celebrating how it is written now, because it can touch so many different women
Yes.
in so many different places. I've read the book 3 times now. My copy of this book is like tagged, dog-eared, and I don't do this to books.
You read my book 3 times?
I've read your book 3 times. Um, and
Oh, thank
and
you.
because the concepts where I was the first time that I read it to where I was the second time that I read it and where I am now after reading it again, they're different. And I don't think that it needs to be changed or upgraded or anything, because it has touched in different spaces at different times, things that I didn't fully grasp for myself the first time going around. I started to grasp the second time, but then I grasped it even more. So we come into these concepts, and this is the place where I was talking about earlier. When we're judging ourselves, why can't we celebrate? The story is written, Simona. and
Yes.
and I just want to say this out loud to you. The story is written. I witnessed you write this story. I witnessed the tears that came standing there, visualizing and seeing each one of these stories come to life again from the perspective of where you are. And it's such a celebration to see and know and understand, that
I
every
appreciate you.
time that we go into this place of judgment, maybe it's our opportunity to listen to ourselves and go, instead of me judging myself in this place, what can I celebrate for myself in this
Yes.
space?
And one thing that is very obvious, we get to celebrate how far we have come from that moment.
Exactly.
How much more we heal, how much more do we release, how much more we evolve. And I appreciate you telling me, first of all, thank you. I didn't know you read my book 3 times.
Well, I have a signed copy of it. And it's on my shelf. And when I need to go back and remember something, it's just like all of the courses that I've taken with you. I go back and I look at those notes to see, am I still triggered by this? Is this something that I'm still working through? Am I still healing in this space? And things like come to life in there. Personally, we had our own one-on-one session the other day, and we were talking about the spiral and the limiting beliefs that tend to come up, so that we can re-heal those things. So yeah, it's a reminder. Yeah. Exactly.
I'm making my own notes and I'm sharing this because it's so powerful what you said. And I know we said this before, and most likely we're going to say it over and over and over again. The book is the book, the story is the story.
Yes.
It's there, it's black on white.
Yep.
It didn't change for the past year. What changed is our perspective going back into it, myself included, the writer, the protagonist of the stories, my memoir. So as we grow, as we heal, as we evolve, and it's a lifetime journey, our perspective change. So every time, and going back, as much as I not encouraging going back into the story, but it's like going back to those moments that have us shift, those programs that you're talking about that have you have some massive breakthroughs, the
Mhm.
going back to those moments when you feel safe, like I learned something there, let me go back and see what else is there, because 100% I have a totally different perspective now. And I think that's the most powerful thing that healing give us, that
Exactly.
expand us more and more. And as we will be in the same situation all over again, I promise you, it's gonna be another wedding. When somebody says something, it's gonna be another family reunion when you will feel like you have a deja vu. It's always coming back. You are a new person, and if you heal, your perspective will be more broad,
Yes.
more loving, more understanding, because you came out of that judgment or fighting or whatever, and now when you see, it's like I used to be that girl. Okay,
Right.
I
We
see now.
Yeah, we spend so much time fighting for our limitations. We
Yes.
fought for the victim story. We fought for that badge of who we used to be. Let's start fighting for who we're becoming, and just go like seriously. I can see this being such a special space for each one of our listeners to be in. Go into your makeup drawer because I know our listeners are predominantly women.
Yes.
Go to your makeup drawer.
And men too. Men use makeup, and
Well, yes.
I really admire a man that loves to put a mascara on.
Right? Um, but go back into that makeup drawer and see where are you hiding out just in that one little space.
Yeah.
It's just like going back to the mirror and recognizing who are you today? Who have you become? And what are you celebrating for that? Celebrate that you can go into your makeup drawer and it doesn't matter if it's a $35 mascara. Toss it if it's not the one that's for you and go to Ulta and get the one that is for you or order it however it looks for you.
Yeah. And that's a big part of the bear lifestyle, where we
Yeah.
get to strip away all the excuses in this particular conversation, and to say, hey, there is some pain that I'm carrying around for
Right.
years or for decades, and there are at least 100 spaces that you could access today to heal that pain.
Yes.
You could hire a therapist, you could hire a coach, you could, maybe you can't, but you could listen to a song that inspire you. Maybe you can, but you could go into your makeup drawer and just do this exercise, like, am I deserving of getting a new thing because this one is expired? Like, everything is healing. We are
Right.
not here just because we are coaching to say the only way that you could heal, you need to hire a coach. Is very powerful,
Yes.
but for the simple reason, because the coaching itself is looking into where we are going, and
Mhm.
that's the focus. And every time we hit a blockage, we know it's coming from the past, and then we are cleaning and we are releasing. But that's not the only place. I
No.
remember when I was in a shelter, and finally 3 months later that they allowed me to leave the building, and I got this volunteer job at the local library. That was the first time that I grabbed a self-worth book. For me, that was a space of healing.
Yeah.
And while I've been reading the book with a very limited English language, I probably understood, I'll be generous, 20% of that book. But was enough for me in that space to say, hey, it's the first time when I understand the concept of being a victim.
Mhm.
I don't remember the name of the book. I have no idea who wrote it. I wish I could. Um, But that's one thing that I remember from that. I understand that victim is not a badge of honor. And victim, the only way to get out of that victimhood is to take responsibility that I created that. And boy, oh boy, I did not like that concept.
We never do.
I did not like to somebody who is this person in a book telling me that it's my responsibility and I created this, like, no ma'am, I did not, he did this to me and that's what happened, because that's what I was, right? And but then without even knowing, it's so strange, without even knowing, I realized, like, looking in a shelter, all these women coming in and living and with children and living, and it's like I've been there for 5 months and this was an emergency shelter, right? They are coming in for maximum 48 hours. So I get to witness hundreds of battle women. They are just like emergency situations, right? And I keep watching them and I keep watching, and they pay attention to the language, and it's been told, like, it's not your fault, he's a bad man, it's not your fault, and I didn't know how to apply what I just learned, but like, it is my fault too. I was there, I was part of it, and I didn't know how to say it, and I didn't have an argument. But that was, what's that, 12, 13 years ago. That was the doorway for me,
Right.
that book, it with that concept. And it took as long as it's gonna took. It took a decade, more than a decade, and many other things that happened in between to get into a space where, like, this is my story,
Yeah.
and it's for everyone to read it.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
Carolyn is here to witness. I require of my clients to write a story. Just write it. You
Yep.
don't have to publish it, just write it. Because I promise you, when you start writing it, things will come up. Memories will trigger other memories. And then that's how you get to just unpack little by little and release.
It's so important in that those small steps that we take when we realize it takes two of us, which is why it's so important for us to have boundaries. It takes two of us, which is why it's so important for us to find our own voices, why we need to heal who we are so that we can step into that power. Because when we're poking it, when we're poking those painful places, we're learning so much about, is this still hurt or have I healed it? If this is still hurting, what do I need to heal from this? And how is it showing up in other aspects of my life? Because that's the place, especially when we grew up with a specific mindset, or we got into a relationship at a young age that took us into some uncomfortable places, some bad places. And we learned something about ourselves during those spaces that told us, oh, we can't speak our own voice. We can't raise up and step forward because that's going to equal pain. But what if we raised up our voices and we spoke out against that pain? What could we learn from that? Where would we go instead? Because we certainly wouldn't go back to that painful situation. We're going to move forward, and I think that's such a powerful place. And your story is such a light on that pathway of what is possible when we make the decision that, yes, it takes two. Yes, I had a hand in this. Yes, I had to go through it, but where do I get to go from here? Because
Yes.
we have so many choices, so
Yes.
many choices.
Up until not long ago, I will say, like, considering for where I was and where I am, it makes no sense. And that was like after I published the book, because that was another layer of healing.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
now I'm like, I can't even say that. I look back just a few months ago, I was saying that with such conviction, and not because it was not true. It was true. It's like, it makes no sense that I
Right.
am where I am, giving the where I'm coming from. But now it, like, even was requiring even more healing, because with that statement alone, it's limited, and it's just like, I don't. It's saying I don't deserve to be where I'm at,
Right.
right? Or I was lucky, even though I don't believe in luck anymore. And
Right.
now it got to be upgraded in a space like, of course I'm here.
Yes.
There
That
is no doubt in my mind.
spiral. We
Spiral.
go, we
I'm going
go
up.
up. Yep.
going out,
We
going
go
out
up.
without feeling that I don't deserve it.
Exactly.
Because that's just another thing that needed to be healed. And I promise you, you could heal as much as you want, and it's still the things will come out. They will not come out to haunt you or to hurt you. They'll come out just to check with you, like, hey, are you really good with this? Okay, you're
Right?
good. There is no things in your stomach, no tightness. Okay, you're good. Okay, let's keep on moving. And then another thing, another trigger, and it's like, ah, I feel nothing. Okay, great. This one is clear.
Yes.
But recognizing that it's in our body,
Yeah.
and we don't even know what that pain and that trauma does, but we do have plenty evidences and studies of showing us the overweight coming from trauma, that underweight coming from trauma,
Yep.
illness,
Yeah.
sickness, right? So
Stress, frozen emotions, all of it. Our ability to handle situations also comes from that trauma situation. And something that I really want to say here is yes, we made a choice. We did. We made a choice and we stayed in a situation that maybe we should not have stayed in. But that other person also has responsibility as well. You know, it's not all on us, but we do have to take responsibility for our parts. The
yeah,
other person was wrong for what they did and how they transgressed against who you are, but now you have the ability to pick up from where you are and to move forward and to spiral up, learning, is this still going on inside of me? You know, what do I need to heal for me? Because healing for you is healing also for every area of your life. And I can attest to this, you know, every area of my life, my relationships, my who I am as a parent, who I am as an entrepreneur, who I am as an advocate for women and their health is so different coming from a space of taking responsibility, owning who I am, and using my voice, just like for all of our listeners. It's so valuable
hmm,
to find that voice and learn where you're going to speak out, because the story that you have to tell, just like Simona's story is so powerful, your story is just as powerful. It needs your voice, and there are other women out there who are hearing what you are saying. Our daughters are listening to us, our sons are listening to us, our neighbor who is going through tough situations, they're listening to us. We're being heard. So what are we saying?
mm. I didn't give an action step or a homework for a long time, but that question is a really good one. What are you saying? What
Yeah,
are you saying? And let's start with what are you saying to yourself?
exactly. I had to
I'm
clean that one
bringing
up.
back, I'm bringing back RuPaul again. If you don't know how to love yourself, how the hell you gonna love somebody else?
And it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth. I hid behind I have a great relationship. I do have a great relationship. But I wasn't in that relationship 100% for the entire time that I've been in this relationship. And now I am, you know. So
Every part of us that is still in hiding because it's hurting, and because it's hurting, that's why it's in hiding.
right, exactly.
Um, as many parts are in hiding, as many parts we are not showing up with.
Exactly.
So things could look good and amazing, and even entrepreneurial space. And we have this conversation before. I show up here a few episodes ago, like just feeling bad about myself and judging myself that others will judge me, and such a old crap that I've been dealing with it many times, and I just get to release it a little bit some more. And I promise you that that is gonna not show up again. No, I cannot make that promise,
Oh,
because we don't know until we know. We only know that it's healed when, again, I'm repeating myself, when we are in similar circumstances and we feel nothing about it, and it's like, yay. So celebrate yourself every day. Celebrate because you find your pain. Celebrate that you feel the pain. Celebrate that you release the pain. Celebrate that you heal the pain. Every single step on the journey gets to be celebrated.
Yes.
And we are celebrating you just being here and listening so far, that tell us that actually you are considering and you resonate with this, and this is another space of healing.
Absolutely.
Do nothing, just trust. If you can't do anything, do nothing, just trust that you hear what you need to hear and your system is going to get in, and you're going to be inspired on your own time, on your own terms, when to take a step a little bit further.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need to celebrate every step of our journey.
And with that being said, I will invite you next week to have a conversation about our bodies, clothed bodies, naked bodies, bare bodies, and the, the rights that we have to decide what we do or not do with our bodies. Are you up
Absolutely.
for that?
I'm 100% up for that. Join us again.
Join us again next week to celebrate our bodies. See you
Until
next time. We will love to hear from you. What inspired you? What triggered you? And what interests you?
Do you have questions? Perfect. Get your answers in our Q&A sessions in the Bear Experience Facebook group.
There are many ways for you to join the conversation. You could leave your comments or you could email us.
We can't wait to have you back. Till then, be Bear.
Beautiful, authentic, real, and ever evolving.